Back, guys. As I butcher that intro, my name is Carbon Fiber Canine, and on this video, we are going to dive into the Necromancer. Shout out to my coworker, who I know will probably go and watch this as soon as it's uploaded, because he decided to choose a Necro for playing as well. Um, Shout out to a really, really close friend of mine who's probably gonna play Druid. So shout out to the coworker for the Necro. Shout out to the really close friend for the Druid. And without further ado, let's get into this Necro because it's my favorite character as well. So here we are, Undead Army, Bone, Darkness, Blood. If you don't know a Necro, Necros are amazing. My own personal opinion. They are by far the most advanced class, just simply based off the idea that they get a large array of minions to just throw at their disposal. So to get down into the Necromancer, the enigmatic Necromancers are custodians of the balance between life and death that can raise powerful undead armies to fight for them, while also wielding the powerful magics of bone, shadow, and blood. Your undead army. Summon a host of undead minions to do your bidding, including skeletal warriors, skeletal mages, and the golem. Yes, you can have all three sets at the same time, or you can sacrifice them, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Bone. Use the power of bone magic to physically assail enemies. Bone skills often gain increased power when you have large amounts of essence. Darkness. Wear down enemies over time. Darkness skills utilize crowd control elements so that enemies are kept at bay while they die a slow, painful death. Blood. Siphon the life from enemies with blood magic, which has defensive benefits while becoming more powerful as you increase your maximum life. Yes! Necromancers are broken. There are numerous ways to play it. I love the Necromancer. Let's get into this. Give me just a second on this creation because it is keen to me as to what I do, because it really affects the way that I play based on what they look or how they look. Closest one seems to be literally just a different. That's stupid. Alright, so we're gonna go with the basic one. We are gonna go solid white skin, basically almost like albino. We're gonna go with a black eye color. We're gonna go with that stern monotone look. Hairstyle. Let's get getting closer on that face. For a Necromancer. Half shaved. Let's see what this stuff looks like from the front. Half shave looks fine. For Necromancer, the goatee really completes him. That's just my honest opinion. So we're going to go with the goatee, and we are going to go with, I really want to say black and white, but I feel like black, dark gray, white, slush white, white, light gray, gray, brown, auburn, teal, blue storm, black teal, poison. I feel like poison would be a better one to go for a Necromancer, but I also feel like black and white is a really good one to go with. Midnight Ruby. Perfect. Right. This one's not hard. Necromancers, they are and will always be, like it said, the balance between life and death. I'm not going to do a balance one on him, just for the simple fact that we are breaking rules by bringing back the dead. But we are going to have some ruins on us because why the fuck not? As for our makeup slash war paint, we're going to have none. As for jewelry, there is a specific one that I go for when I do necros. Up, there it is. Boom. And we're going to do fresh blood for all that stuff because fresh blood. Right, so let's go and look and see Razul. Tag it with the YT so that way we know that this is for YouTube. Boom, and as always, World Tier 2 Veteran start. For those of you who don't know, mouse and keyboard, it is hold escape to skip your cutscenes. On Xbox, it is to hold B to skip your cutscenes. And for PlayStation, press and hold circle. Circle to skip your cutscenes. So,
Sanctuary.
boop. So to get down into this, it won't take me long because, well, that's just how I am. So looking at it, you get 4 essence per hit, and it deals 3 damage with Reap. Hitting an enemy with Reap increases your damage reduction by 15% for 2 seconds. You have Decompose, which deals 8 damage and forms usable corpses, just so that we're all on the same page. Hemorrhage, which will burst an enemy's blood, dealing 7 damage. Hemorrhage has a 20% chance to form a blood orb. If you really want to go for a sustainable build, Hemorrhage would be the way to go. Then you have Bone Splinters, 3 Bone Splinters, 2 damage each. Each subsequent time an enemy is hit by the same cast of Bone Splinters, you gain 1 essence. Me, realistically, I don't see how it pans out for that. The Hemorrhage, real simple. After picking up a blood orb, next Hemorrhage also deals damage to enemies around your target, plus 2 additional essence. Grants 1.6 base life as a fortify, which isn't much. And then you have Hemorrhage here, which gains an additional 20% attack speed while healthy. Healthy meaning you have more than 80% of your health. That's the way that I would go for that. Just so you guys can see it. But Decompose, definitely, in my opinion, would be the one to start out with. If an enemy dies while being decomposed, you gain 10 essence. Acolytes Decompose, you and your minions deal 10% increased damage to enemies who are being decomposed. And then you have Initiates Decompose. Decompose slows enemies by 30%. I personally would say Acolytes Decompose is better, but at the same time, the Initiates Decompose is also great. But Decompose is definitely the way you want to start for an early game. Start off on the right foot kind of thing. You have your Blood Lance here, which is throwing a Blood Lance, dealing 22 damage to the enemy and all other lanced enemies. But then it lingers in an enemy for 3 seconds as well. So then you have the Blood Surge, draw blood from enemies, 5 damage, expel a Blood Nova, dealing 14 damage. In total, that's 19 damage. A Blood Surge's Nova damage is increased by 10% per enemy drained, up to 50%. So if you have 5 enemies and you Blood Surge and it hits all of 5 enemies, that Blood Nova that deals 14 damage gets a 50% increase, which is 7, dealing 21 damage instead. Great skill, but it costs blood. Oh no, it costs essence. Wow, they changed that. I really thought that would have cost blood. Ah, it's categorized as a blood. Okay, that's where I'm getting it mixed up. Then you have Blight, Unleash Concentrated Blight that deals 8 damage and leaves behind a defiled area, dealing 22 damage over 6 seconds. Then you have Sever, a Spectre View charges forward and attacks with its size for 17 damage and returns to you and attacks again for 5 damage. And then you have my favorite, the Bone Spear. Conjure a Bone Spear from the ground, dealing 24 damage and piercing through enemies. It's great, especially when you get into the nitty-gritty of the skill. Enhanced Bone Spear. Bone Spear breaks into 3 shards when it is destroyed, dealing 7 damage each. Bone Spear makes the first enemy hit vulnerable for 3 seconds. That is where most of your damage is going to come from. That vulnerability off that Bone Spear, and you get it at level 3. Then you have Paranormal Bone Spear, which it's still nice, but it's not high damage output because it only has a 5% increased crit chance, and if it does crit chance, you actually hit that crit strike, you fire 2 additional bone shards upon it being destroyed. So, naturally decompose into Bone Spear because you don't want to use any corpses. None of these consume corpses yet, so you're good there. But this generates more corpses because this forms a usable corpse with the flesh every 2.5 seconds. So, on initial hit, you will get a corpse. And then every 2.5 seconds preceding, you get another corpse. So if you're fighting a boss, it turns into a real nice fuckfest. Pardon my French. Moving on down here, this is where most of your damage is going to actually start to take off and become overpowered in a way. So now you have Blood Mist, right? Disperse into a bloody mist, becoming immune for 3 seconds. Your movement speed is reduced by 20%, and you periodically deal 1 damage to enemies and heal for 0.5% of your maximum life. If you are one that likes to get in the middle of all of these fights, Blood Mist is for you because it's gonna help you a lot. Then you have Bone Prison. Unearth a prison of bone with 12 life that surrounds the target area for 6 seconds. You're keeping everyone into a nice concealed circle. I don't know how much more simpler that can get. Doesn't really deal damage, but it keeps them contained. It keeps you on, like the distant side for you to be able to come in and actually hit them with something that's going to hurt. Also in this tree that is super notable is your Skeletal Warrior Mastery. Increases the damage and life of your Skeletal Warriors by 15%. That is imperative to any minion build, having that mastery. Then you also have Consuming a Corpse generates 2 essence. Deal 3% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. Yada yada yada. So, here. This is where your damage starts to take off. Detonate a corpse, dealing 14 damage to surrounding enemies. Then you have Corpse Explosion Radius increased by 15%. Super nice. You love the radius because the radius does not mean less damage the farther out it gets. It is 14 solid the whole way. Then you have this option. Corpse Explosion deals 8% increased damage to enemies that are slowed, stunned, or vulnerable. These bonuses can stack. And then you have Blooded Corpse Explosion, which is releasing Miasma for 31 shadow damage over 6 seconds. Now let me tell you this right now. That Corpse Explosion is nice. But even on my character, I'm about to refund it. Because it says right there, over 6 seconds. It does not do instant damage. It is not instant. It is DOT, damage over time. So I'm probably gonna refund the Bladed Corpse Explosion and go with the Plagued Corpse Explosion, only because the Miasma is nice, but it kills too slow, and I like to kill fast. So moving right along, Corpse Explosion is definitely the way you want to go. When you come down here, you only have 2. Super simple. You have Iron Maiden to look at, which is curse the target area. Enemies afflicted by Iron Maiden take 2 damage each time they deal direct damage. Last 10 seconds. Not one of my favorites. But then you have Decrepify. Curse the target area. Enemies afflicted by Decrepify are slowed by 40% and deal 20% less damage for 10 seconds. And then you have the Branch Off. The Enhanced. Enemies hit while afflicted with Decrepify have a 10% chance to be stunned for 2 seconds. I'll take that chance, because when you look at these 2 right here, they build upon it. When you and your minions hit an enemy, Afflicted with Decrepify below 10% life, they are instantly killed. Does not work on bosses. Sad, but true. And Abhorrent Decrepify. Lucky hit. Enemies hit while afflicted with Decrepify have a 15% chance to reduce your active cooldowns by 1 second. Now, both of those are perfectly fine to stat into. Either one. That is entirely up to you. They're not one's better than the other. It's not that way. Personally, I went with Horrid only because below 10% life, if I hit you with Decrepify, you're dead. That's it. Alright, done. The other notable point to note in this one, right? Just like this previous branch right here, right? Skeletal Warrior Mastery. The new one to note is the Skeletal Mage Mastery. Now, the mages and the warriors all come off of this skill. They all run off of that skill, and it will always summon your warriors before your mages. But it is important to both help your mages and your warriors. So another note is your Skeletal Mage Mastery. Now moving down here, you only have 2, and honestly, I don't really use either one of them, but I can speak on them. Okay, Corpse Tendrils, veins burst out of a corpse, pulling in enemies, stunning them for 3 seconds, and dealing 5 damage to them does not consume the corpse. That is really nice because it doesn't consume your corpse, right? The flip side of it is, it also pulls them in for a stun. Perfect opportunity to deal damage. You pull them in, corpse explosion, boom, you have another corpse to pull someone in. It feeds itself. It's really nice. I don't use it because it's not really what I'm going for. So there's that. But then you have Bone Spirit. Essence cost. All of your remaining essence. Literally all of it. Which is why I don't use it. Consume all of your essence to conjure a spirit of bone that seeks enemies. Upon reaching an enemy, the spirit explodes, dealing 22 damage to the target and all surrounding enemies. Damage is increased by 3% for each point of essence spent casting Bone Spirit. Now, while that sounds really nice, 3% of 22 is not a lot. It makes you think that it's really good. Right? So you also have this, cooldown reduced by 6 seconds. Cool, that cuts it in half. Now it's 6 seconds. But what do you do with all of your essence? You don't have any essence left now. Dreadful Bone Spirit. After Bone Spirit hits an enemy, generate 30 essence over the next 4 seconds. Boom. That's where you get your essence. But on the flip side, you also have crit chance. So there's that. So moving on down here to the ultimates. Like I said, I can move through the Necromancer really quick. It's super easy. I already know everything that I would use going forward, and it's simple. So here we have the Blood Wave. Conjure a tidal wave of blood that deals 33 damage and knocks back enemies. Really nice, not very useful. The knockback is nice, but 33 damage, I don't need to run away. I have minions to defend me. Why do I need to run? Why do I need a knockback? It's just the way that I think about it. Here we have Bone Storm. A swirling storm of bones appear around you and your golem, dealing 50 to surrounding enemies over 10 seconds. While that sounds really nice, it is also useless if you do not have a golem. Not entirely useless, but pretty useless because you and your golem get the Bone Storm. If you don't use a golem, Bone Storm's pretty useless because it's just you. And 50 damage over 10 seconds. It's like 5 damage a second. It's not a lot. But when you and your golem are together, that's 10 damage a second. That's a lot. That's 100. So, moving on from that, Army of the Dead. This is what I would use because why the fuck not? Cooldown 70 seconds, a little over a minute, right? Call forth the deep buried dead. Volatile skeletons emerge over the next 7 seconds that explode when around enemies, dealing 12 damage. No, the damage isn't a lot, but here's the flip side. When Army of the Dead's volatile skeletons explode, they have a 50% chance to leave behind a corpse. That chance is worth it, because the corpses are how the Necromancer continues to move forward, even if you don't use minions. Then here, Supreme Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead also raises your skeletal warriors and skeletal mages. So, at the end of it, if all your shit's dead and you're about to die, all you have to do is hit that, dodge roll, heal, and you're done. You get all of your minions back to pull the aggro. You get skeletons popping up out of the ground to go and fucking explode. Gives you a chance to get away, heal, and then come back in with some more damage. Why would you not do that? Like, this is the most intelligent thing ever to use Army of the Dead. Then you come down here and you have Kalen's Edict. Bingo. This is a perfect example of a perfect minion build, right? After you have not taken damage in the last 3 seconds, a lot of the time, your minions gain 15% attack speed. While you have at least 7 minions, this bonus is doubled. So, I'm going to explain the others, then I'm going to come back to that one, just to give you a little hint as to how I do mine and why that's going to be pretty damn nice when I get to it, because I haven't got to it yet in my game. Ossified Essence. Your bone skills deal 1% increased damage for each point of essence you have above 50 upon cast. So, well, that does seem nice. 1% isn't a whole lot. And unless you are a high essence build, it's still not going to be a whole lot. Rathma's Vigor. Increase your maximum life by 10%. After being healthy for 15 seconds, your next blood skill overpowers. Overpowers means it deals bonus damage based on the sum of your current life and fortified life. Healthy means having more than 80% of your life. So, that's really nice if you use blood skills and keep your minions to hold the aggro for you, because that will actually help you in the long run because it's health. But it also means that your next blood skill is overpowered, which means all the extra health that you have, oh yeah, it's gonna hurt. So, Shadow Blight. Shadow damage infects enemies with Shadow Blight for 2 seconds. You and your minions deal 10% bonus damage to enemies with Shadow Blight. Every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you or your minions while they are affected by Shadow Blight, they take an additional 6 shadow damage. So, this is operating off the idea that you use shadow skills, and not a lot of people do. But if we refer back up here, this is a shadow skill. It's darkness. It's a shadow skill. See? Shadow damage. Right down there. Right down there. Shadow damage. Okay? Blood damage. Physical. Because it's, I mean, this says physical, and this says shadow, but you're using blood to deal the damage. And this is using bones. So bone, blood, darkness, darkness, shadow, blood, blood, bone, bone. You get the idea. So to come back down here to this, right? So with your skeletal warriors, you have 3 variants. You have your, I think it's warriors, or I'm sorry, soldiers, defenders, or skirmishers. Skirmishers, defenders, and reapers. If you choose your reapers, you get 4 skeleton warriors, okay? With your mages, I don't remember what the last one was, but one is shadow, the next one is cold, and I don't remember what the last one is, but I use the cold ones because of the slowing effect. Flip side is that you only get 3 mages, I think, regardless of which one you choose, but 3 mages, 4 reapers. The reapers have increased damage and lower health. Hence why if you refer back to the little node where I had said skeletal mastery, you're going to want that. Okay? The Skeletal Mage Master, you're going to want that. You want them to be alive and deal more damage and slow them down. And so they all work in unison for a minion build. But then you also have your Golem. Your Golem acts as a minion as well. So referring back to this, while you have at least 7 minions, that bonus is doubled. 15% attack speed turns into 30% attack speed. The Reapers have increased damage, lower health, and a moderate attack speed. The Mages, I think, have a moderate attack speed with moderate health and moderate damage. So the Mages are like completely balanced, and you only get 3 of them. The Warriors, however, I use Reapers because I want high damage. High damage, low health. Defender is high health, low damage. And the Skirmisher is completely balanced. Just the same way the Mages would be. And I was like, no, I want high damage. I want to, I want to annihilate what comes to me. So I go with the Reapers. Reapers, you get 4. Mages, you get 3. Golems, you get 1. I'm pretty sure. I ain't got to the Golems yet, but I'm pretty sure you get 1. Okay, so that's 8 minions. When you have not taken damage in the last 3 seconds, your minions gain a 15% attack speed. While you have at least 7 minions, this bonus is doubled, creating 30% attack speed. There's no limit. There is no cutoff for that attack speed until you get hit. When you get hit, bye-bye. That goes away. It's imperative that you pay attention when you are fighting to not get hit. Or run with a group, a friend, 2 friends, 3 friends if you're feeling froggy. Because you as the Necromancer are just going to wipe the fucking floor with everybody. It's not going to matter. Your minions are going to take the cake when it comes to beating something up and taking its lunch money. You're gonna win every fight you're in, especially if you have a tank like a druid. If you have a druid on your team, and you're a necro, the only thing you're missing, in my personal honest opinion, your druid is your tank. You are definitely a support as a necro. Like you are high damage, but you're a high damage support. You need the high damage frontliner. So what are you missing? A rogue. That's the perfect party. If you want to go one up it, if you want to one up that perfect party, you need a barbarian. A sorcerer, most of them usually stick to themselves. Every time I've seen the sorcerers, they usually like to play by themselves and go off on their own, and sorcerer, that's just how sorcerers are. Sorry, not sorry. Personalities. But moving on, we are going to dive in and show you why you should choose Decompose to start out your Necromancer. I just healed myself. Got hit. Healed myself. Flip side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now right now I can only have 4, but you can increase that as well. So the idea behind that is, right, that Decompose spawned extra corpses for me. There was 3 wargs. I had 6 corpses. That should pretty much explain why you should choose Decompose. That in and totally of itself. And then you know what happens? You can heal your minions by continuing to use your summon on the skeletons. And you know what? They keep you safe. That guy literally just sat there and was like, no, you ain't getting close to him. Now they're going off on their own. They taste blood. They want it. And they're going for it. And I can't blame them. Look at that. I didn't even know that guy was there. Bell. Right, so then here we are. We're in town. Just about right on time. Let's go ahead and get the second level, and I'll explain what you do with that second level.
Ah! He bit me!
Let's walk to
Careful.
this controller.
He's a wild one.
What's it to you?
Come.
Boom.
I'll explain.
Yep. Sure you will explain.
There is evil staring in the ruins to the north. That poor monk back there must have gone inside. Even a holy man like him was driven mad by whatever he saw. Could you protect?
Boom. Alright, so now we're going to come right out here. Alright, so with your second skill point, in order to maintain your output, I highly recommend doing this, only because your third level you can do that and your minions will deal increased damage. But that's what I would do. What you should do in order to maintain your effectiveness as far as damage goes, level it up. It's not hard. You just boop one time. Just boop, boop. Press X on PlayStation, A on Xbox, or just click it if you're on mouse and keyboard. Don't worry, it's not going to bite. So, that in and of itself will now deal 9 damage while giving me corpses to use on whatever it is that I want to use it on. The beautiful side is these skeletons, they're not going anywhere. They are going to stay there until they die. And when they die, you know how easy it is to bring them back? You just summon them from a corpse that your basic produces. Without even killing an enemy, it produces a corpse. It don't get better than that. If you are slapped into a corner and you are struggling and you just attack an enemy really quick and you summon a warrior, he backs off of you. He goes for your skeleton. You continue to attack. When you kill him, he drops 2 corpses. You get 2 more, and you make your comeback. It is that simple. But we are going to be exploring more of him along the way. Y'all stay tuned for the next video for Necromancer, for the Barbarian, for the Druid, for the Sorcerer, for the Rogue. Y'all stay tuned. This is the last one for today. Probably do some more next weekend, and then I'm going to start scheduling them so that way you guys can keep up to date as to what day it is, what day, what class. Y'all stay beautiful, stay awesome. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I love your faces. Stay beautiful, stay awesome. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye!